Hi everyone, delonewolf here. Welcome back to some EVE Online, and in today's video I want to take a look at the features and ideas forum because there are actually a few important posts concerning the December release. I want to talk a little bit about the new ships that are coming and the changes to remote repping, so for shields and armor. Now, the features and idea discussion is actually a really good and important forum if you want to stay up to date about rebalancing, new ships that are coming to the game, and all sorts of changes. It's one that I must admit I don't check often enough, and so I did want to quickly put this one in the spotlight in this video. So you just go to the forums, and then just above the tester feedback you've got features and ideas discussions, and here you'll find a lot of sticky posts that have to do with all the new stuff. Here, for instance, new ewar frigates. Let's see, remote rep tier site and fall off. Let me see if I can also find the command destroyers. Focus group tactical destroyers. I don't think that's what I wanted to see. The new discovery frigate, of course, is coming as well. Capital Q&A, command destroyers. Here we go. We're gonna start with these guys, although we basically know what their fun, new, unique feature is going to be. They'll be able to use the new micro jump drive, which will also take any ships within a certain radius, any non-capital ships within a certain radius, and jump them with the destroyer 100 kilometers away. I think this will be pretty interesting for the game. There will be some interesting tactics that have also already been theory crafted by the devs, like CCP Rise mentioned this on the 07 show, knowing that these jumps also take missiles and bombs with them. You could do some sort of staggered bombing run from far away. You could also like take ships much further away if you can stagger like 2 or 3 of those jumps, so you activate them one after the other a few seconds apart. Then the first one jumps to a target 100 kilometers away, and then the other one, the next one, will actually jump a few seconds later and take whatever is nearby with him as well. So I think this is pretty damn interesting. It's been a little disruptive for the mass tests, but not by too much, honestly. When it was first deployed, they were used a lot to disrupt the fleets from jumping together, but after that it has calmed down a little bit. But I think it will definitely bring some interesting mechanics to the game, and some people will be able to show off like being very skilled at using these destroyers. And I do think that they will become part of the meta when it comes to major fleet warfare, because the ability to jump away parts of the enemy fleet, maybe the logistics of the fleet, if you have like 5 or 6 of them ready and they can all work very well together, I think it could really disrupt enemy fleets, their plans and stuff like that. So really interesting, these command destroyers. While I'm not sure how quickly I'll be able to fly one myself, or actually actively use one myself, because I'm more of a solo player kind of guy, and I'm really focusing on industry at the moment. I think they're a very interesting addition to the game, and I do look forward to some of the shenanigans that these new command destroyers promise to bring to the game. Next up, we've got Tech 2 logistics frigates. That's pretty interesting as well, especially considering, of course, that the remote reps are being changed as well. So these get a Tech 2 version as well, more Tech 2 production. Is that going to have an impact on the Tech 2 market? I would hope so. From my personal standpoint, I think that could be good if it could bring some more volatility back in the Tech 2 market. But yeah, we've got the Deacon for the Amar, the Kirin for the Kaldari, the Talia for Galente, and then the Scalpel for the Minmatar. You can check all of the details right here on the forums. You can of course also test them on CC if you want to. But as I've said, here in the features and ideas discussions is where the devs do post their ideas, where you can give your feedback, and then where if they consider your feedback really valuable and say, okay, he's actually right, this is a problem, then they will actively participate in the threads, show that you're right, and make changes depending on all of the feedback from players. So I think it's an awesome example of CCP working with and listening to the player base when it comes to the new features that they want to deploy in EVE Online. And yeah, these Tick 2 logistics frigates are of course part of that. And then the final type of ships next to of course the ice mining frigates that are coming are the new Navy ewar frigates. This is also decently interesting. So you've got Cruisefire Navy issue, Griffin Navy issue, Mollusk Navy issue, and Vigil Fleet issue. These will, of course, come to the market through the loyalty point market for blueprint copies. Let me see what were their specialty here. Weapon disruptor, optimal range and fall off. So weapon disruption is, I think, a good and strong mechanic, but not completely overpowered. So the Crucifier Navy issue, I think, will have a normal place in the game. But I don't think anyone expects real problems with the Crucifier Navy issue. The Griffin Navy issue for the Caldari, though, minus 85% penalty to ECM optimal range and fall-off, and reduction to ECM jammer activation cost. Now, another ECM ship, those are not popular because they are considered slightly overpowered. And of course, a frigate is really affordable. I think that these could be used quite a lot. So if you want something of value, I think, yeah, just bringing some of these Griffin Navy issues to ECM your opponents in bigger fleet fights, they will definitely be considered to be very strong. Because yeah, they can basically jam out something that's way more powerful and way more expensive than them. So the Griffin Navy issue, I think CCP will have to keep a close eye on that one, and ECM in general, to see if it's not a little bit overpowered for being just a frigate with all of those bonuses. But the ECM mechanic in general is not that popular in EVE Online, and I think CCP is very slowly starting to gather basically ideas about what they could do to ECM if it becomes an actual problem. But yeah, keep an eye on that one, I think, because there could be changes later on if it turns out that it does become a problem. Then the Mollusk Navy issue, I do like this one. Because it's got a bonus to drone tracking and hit points, but it then also has +2 scramble strength to all warp scramblers. So this is basically going to be a really good tackling ship with drones, which I find pretty interesting. You know, in frigate fights, I can really see this ship have a place in like faction warfare. I sometimes do watch Marquis Dragon do some faction warfare in like Tristan's. I think that this could really have a place there, being a very, very good tackler, having drone support. I think this is a pretty interesting ship, although not necessarily overpowered, but just something that will add to the lineup of ships that you can take. And yeah, the +2 scramble strength, you know, if you can have 2 points on someone, then it's going to be pretty hard for them to get away, even if they have some of those warp core stabilizers. So I really like this idea. And Mollusk Navy issue, if I have to say something that we as a corporation might fly in a very small group out in Losec just to look for some trouble, I think this could definitely be a ship that I can see us flying. Because we are Galente, of course, we've got the drone skills, but at this scramble strength, I think it could be pretty damn interesting. And then finally we have the Vigil Fleet issue, who has +50% stasis webifier range. I think that'll have its place as well. In fact, a combination of these two, Mollusk and Vigil, I think could really work together very well, because you've got missiles, you've got drones, you've got really good tackle, and you've got, of course, the stasis webifier with a very good range. So I like this one. Overall, I like all of them. It's just the Griffin Navy issue, of course, another ECM ship, which is probably going to be a very affordable frigate. Could be something that CCP might want to keep an eye on, because, well, ECM is considered a very powerful mechanic, and if you have a whole fleet of these Griffin Navy issues with very good ECM at good ranges and fall off as well, then this could really become something that's going to be like overused compared to anything else for in its class or in its range. So, but I like them overall. And for our corporation personally, for a small low-sec roam, I think Mollusk Navy issue with Visual Fleet issue, like 2 of each or something like that, I think could be quite fun to roam around with in low-sec and look for some trouble. So yeah, we do have a lot of new ships that are coming into EVE Online, but I think the most disruptive change is going to be the remote reptier side and fall off. So what I first thought was going to happen is that there will actually just be a fall off, but they will also keep the hard cap on the range. That would of course be an extremely hard nerf of logistics, but that's how I at first understood it. So let's say that you could rep up to 60 kilometers. Anything within 60 kilometers at the moment, you get just basically your optimal rep amount. And I thought that maybe they would just add in an optimal and then have a fall off bounce between 0, the optimal, and then to your maximum range at the moment. It turns out that that's not exactly how it's going to work. So CCP is aiming for something like 70% efficiency at the current max range. They're taking that as your optimal, and then at smaller ranges and at greater ranges, the efficiency of your reps is going to reduce. So I think it's pretty interesting because in general it is a nerf to logistics. It is an attempt to balance the just bring one extra remote repping ship mentality that is happening in nullsec at the moment by making it slightly less effective, but I don't feel it's as big of a nerf as it could have been, because they're actually increasing the range at which you can rep, although at much reduced efficiency. So it's also, I think in one of the responses said that it will be possible for logistics cruisers to rep outside of their innate targeting range even. So that provides some interesting decisions, of course, when it comes to your actual fitting and what kind of efficiency you want your logistics to actually rep you. If they want more safety, you can rep for more distance, but you know that, for instance, you'll only get 20% of your normal amount going to the guys that you're repping. So I think it's okay because it has its advantages. It will allow for different play styles at even longer ranges than at the moment, but on the other hand, just balling everything up then just adding more repping numbers is not going to work as well, because the bigger your ball gets, the more people will go outside of their optimal ranges, and so the efficiency does suffer a little bit from that. So I think it's an interesting idea. I think overall from the comments, people are okay with the idea here of having an optimal and a fall off to remote reps, and it's going to be pretty interesting to see how it's going to work out. Two other changes that this means, though, they also, I think, increased the cycle time of the reps, so that switching to different targets when in a fleet versus fleet engagements, it becomes a more viable tactic. It's going to be harder for the logistics to actually switch their reps to different ships. On the other hand, of course, they will rebalance the amount that is repped in every cycle to make up for that, so that overall on optimal it should stay around the same. The one aspect that this will give an advantage to is what we're actually using in nullsec at the moment, which is we have like 3-4 battleships running the anomalies, and they all have a remote rep on them in the high slots, and so we can spider tank each other a little bit, but the very limited range at the moment basically forces us to orbit very closely to one another, not get at good speeds compared to the rats, or like be able to pull distance or anything like that. If the distance is increased, of course with a fall off penalty, then we could have an easier time, I think, with a spider tank between battleships that don't actually have a remote rep bonus or anything like that. So yeah, I do personally, I like this change. I think it's going to add some interesting nuances to the logistics gameplay, but overall I do think it is considered a nerf to logistics in general. So yeah, you have to agree that that's what's becoming a problem, and if you do, then you'll think this change is good. If you don't, of course, then you'll think that maybe they're hitting the wrong things in EVE Online at the moment. But yeah, this is probably going to have a pretty major impact on fleet fights in nullsec. We'll have to see, of course, once the December release comes out. But there you go, guys. I did want to quickly cover all of this because I'd missed a lot of it. I'd missed the Navy ewar frigates. I'd completely missed the Tech 2 logistics frigates as well. I did know about the new destroyers and the new ice mining frigate. And of course, the remote rep changes were also announced in the 07 show. But I should really do a bit more checking on the features and ideas discussions, because it's an awesome place to stay up to date on all of the smaller changes that CCP is going to do to the game without having to go to CC and actually test everything out yourself. The numbers are right there in all of these posts. So if you want to check them out for yourself, make sure to check it out right there. I think it's a little bit too late now to go and give feedback when it comes to these specific changes, but there's more going to come, especially with the Citadel expansion. And the more people give feedback, spot problems for CCP, the better it's all going to be for everyone. So there you go, guys. A quick discussion of some EVE Online stuff that's coming in December. Thank you very much for watching. I'll see you all next time.